We're getting closer to harvest with our hops project through the University of Nebraska. A little bit closer to that nice, crisp, cold adult malt beverage. So of course what we have to do is figure out how to get the hops off the vine. Stacey, do you want to talk a little bit about the kind of machine that a home brewer would use in doing their harvesting, and whether in fact they also may have to go to a little bit of hand picking to get all those hops off?
So in the commercial industry, they're using cone strippers basically to remove the cone off of the vine, and that's kind of a challenge because there's no machinery in the U.S., so a lot of it's being imported from Germany. But there are a couple companies that make a machine that's designed for smaller growers that are under 2 acres. However, the home grower is probably going to end up doing it all by hand.
All right, as with any piece of equipment, sometimes there are a few kinks to work out and some bugs to figure out. What do you think are going to be the issues that we hope to get resolved before we send this out and help our collaborators get their harvest managed?
So we're looking at how to adjust the machine. It's going to take some practice because we have different varieties, and it has to do with the plant structure itself. So there's a few wheels that we have to adjust in order to not tear the plant apart, but harvest as many cones as possible. With any machine, we are finding there's a certain amount of cones that are going out through the litter, and our goal is to reduce that as much as possible. So for the research, I think some of the data will be just going on and hand picking it, because when you're doing it commercially, you can tolerate a little bit of loss. So that's what we're trying to optimize on, is reducing that loss.
Once we get those hops out of the chute and into the bin, what happens next? Do they go into cold storage? Do we pack them in little baggies and carry them into the kitchen? Do they go right into the brew vat?
So as soon as the cones are removed from the plant, we don't have a lot of time to handle them because they have very high moisture, around 80% moisture. So they do need to go through some sort of a drying system. It's not heating really, we just need to blow air through it. We have to bring that moisture content down as quick as possible. A home person might use something like a food dehydrator to do it, or they might just have a screen with a fan blowing up underneath. Commercially, that's what they basically are, is just large screens with fans blowing there. So once the moisture content has been brought down, they're either compressed into bales, or they can be packed into some packages and vacuum sealed, and then they can be refrigerated to hold them till they're ready for distribution.
Stacey, in the green and growing world, a lot of pathogens can transfer on equipment. Is that something that we're going to be worried about with a harvester, especially if home brewers go into more of a co-op situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a concern because we need to make sure that we can keep our fields clean and virus-free. And what we're finding is that the cutting of the bind at the base is where there's a vulnerability for these viruses to be transferred. So there does have to be a clean program figured out, or some sort of protocol by the grower itself. So that's something we need to look at.
Thanks, Stacey. You know, this is the year that all of our collaborators got to play. Next year we'll be coming back with exactly which ones of these vines had the greatest productivity.